and welcome to CX Today. My name is Charlie. I am the head of publication here. And today I'm thrilled to introduce a discussion all around how AI is changing contact center procurement and how businesses can can safely boost their customer service investments. And joining me for this conversation are two excellent guests. Yes, today I am happy to be joined by Wayne Butterfield, partner for AI automation and contact center transformation at ISG, and Christoph Börner, the VP of Engineering at Cyara. Thanks both very much for joining me. I actually really want to start this discussion off with a stat that I read from a recent metric Sherpa report. And it found that less than 1 in 5 AI buying decisions for contact center are now completed by the contact center. Instead, it's mainly IT teams. And it'll be great to kind of start with that stat. And Wayne, maybe I'll come to you first on this. What's sort of caused that pivot?
Well, I would say AI is probably the thing. And so a lot of the technology that we've historically used has just become a lot more complex to set up, optimize, and use on a day-to-day basis. And there are so many things being bells and whistles being added into all of these technologies that I would say it's very difficult for somebody who's not of a technical mindset to be able to correctly evaluate the capabilities. Now, that doesn't mean that IT know what the contact center needs. It just means that IT is more relevant in those buying decisions now because of the more technical nature on each and every one of these tools. Anything from WFM to quality assurance. It's no longer what it used to be like 5 years ago. So, that for me is probably the key reason. I think it's complexity of tool and also the rapidness of change. So all of these tools are reinventing themselves every 12, 18 months. It's very difficult for a contact center exec to know whether they need a lot of the stuff that people are selling.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting. It's been a fabulous trend for me to watch this yesterday. When I started here around 4 years ago, the IT department was like just an offshoot of sort of the overarching enterprise IT unit that just looked after the contact center because it dealt with the hard stuff, the numbers, the voice, and it wasn't really part of the overall transformation, overall enterprise transformation story. And that seems to have changed. I don't know, Christoph, if you have any thoughts on this as well.
Well, my thoughts are I totally agree with you guys. Maybe from my perspective, I also see this huge shift. And just a few years ago, AI in contact centers meant something like simple NLP and NLU-based bots or a piece of speech analytics or something like that, meaning basic tools. And these tools were easy for CX teams to deploy, to run, to buy themselves. And this has now changed completely over the last, 18 months or something, where AI has moved from being, let's say, an operational tool to being a whole enterprise capability or enterprise strategy. And as such, it touches sensitive customer data. It needs integration with all kinds of knowledge systems, your CRM, your ticket system, whatever. And, IT sits right in the middle of the company's security and governance framework. So I think at the end of the day, it's only natural that IT stepped in here. They own these data pipelines. They manage compliance. They also understand AI's model lifecycle. What happens with data? Where does it go? How does reasoning happening? And all the infrastructure that the CX teams typically don't. Therefore, I think AI is no longer in contact centers an isolated project like it was a few years ago. It's a strategic decision. I totally agree with Wayne. The opportunity here is huge, but there's also this challenge for CX leaders to stay at this table with the IT guys, because these guys know technology and governance and so on, but they usually have no clue about customer experience and what the CX teams do. So that's my 2 cents on that one.
Yeah, I think that's great. And if there's one word maybe to summarize both of your answers, I guess it's complexity. There is more of a complexity involved now in tech deployments within contact center. And I guess I would hope that with that complexity maybe came some more advanced sort of use cases for AI. Are you seeing that in practice, Wayne?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. If I think about some of the latest inventions that I'm seeing in the service provider community, for example, having a contact center agent being able to be tested on reconstructed calls with a voice agent to be able to fine tune their ability to negotiate, problem solve, etc. I mean, I remember, 20 years ago in the contact center myself, having to do role plays, really embarrassing role plays in a training room, where you'd have a script in front, and it was just so unnatural and also very kind of unnerving. Now, every individual has an ability to choose the type of call that they want to listen to, how obstructive the consumer is going to be, etc., all because of AI. That's a great user case. On-the-fly training creation, so the ability to get knowledge out into the hands of people and it be personalized. Having auto scoring of calls, which then leads to new training material being pushed, which that may then lead to actual calls so you can practice. As a contact center agent now, AI, as much as people talk about AI taking things away from the contact center through conversational AI and other capabilities, it's actually added a load of other stuff that has really enabled. And then you add agent assist on top of that, live on calls doing stuff. It literally has, AI has the ability, when deployed in the right way, to transform the role and the glide path of every agent that decides to work in this industry.
Yeah, again, I think lots of really good stuff there. And it's interesting that you mentioned the variety of AI use cases in there, because a lot of contact centers maybe first really went in on self-service and now are recognizing the need, maybe there's the agent experience too. And then I feel like there's a big trend coming in contact centers with analytics as well, especially as we're seeing sort of conventional reporting collide with more powerful BI tools. And then you have the sort of conversational nature of AI being able to interact with your data as well. It's become very exciting. Are there any especially advanced use cases that you're seeing out there in practice, Christoph?
The one I didn't hear from you guys was probably agent assist. So this is, just with this keyword, this is something I see literally across our entire client base, or to start one step earlier. It's a no-brainer. Every one of our clients is literally racing to harness the power of AI. And, usually coming from top leadership, we need to be AI first. And literally everyone is on this transition, going from old school legacy contact centers to something that is AI powered. And on this transition, we usually see the first step, hey, let's do something internal that is not immediately client facing, where we have some room to learn and to learn our lessons and make some errors. And this is usually agent assist, assisting your agents with guidance by collecting data from knowledge bases, all that stuff. It's of course already super challenging from a QA and testing experience, or challenge for our clients out there. And then the next step is typically, or the next use case, some hybrid contact center where you still rely on some scripted paths, if you want to call it, maybe the main business cases, but at some points really introducing AI-driven parts of the journey. And this is then where they open the box of Pandora, because at this point, the question of test coverage of are we good to move to production? Yeah, who takes the responsibility? At this point, with one AI step introduced, things are breaking, and where our clients actually get stuck then, because this one part of the journey is non-deterministic, it's unpredictable. AI, if it's off the leash, talking about really agentic systems, can make decisions, change the scope in the middle of a conversation. So that's super tough to test and assure quality. But yeah, and this on this road to transition to AI, then Ultimately, you have the agentic AI really driving everything. This is a small percentage of our client base who is already there, to be honest. Interestingly, it's some healthcare clients where I thought they would usually take longer to go down this path. But yeah, that's the use cases we see at the moment. Agent assist, hybrid journeys that are AI infused, and then fully agentic AI.
Awesome. So yeah, lots of really great use cases there. And especially, I want to hone in on those customer-facing use cases, especially. We've talked about self-service and also those hybrid journeys that Christoph just mentioned. Yet we're still seeing such negativity from customers when it comes to the deployment of AI in customer service. I feel like I see stats on this almost every week now. So why, despite the positives that we've mentioned, is there still such negative perceptions? I don't know, Wayne, if you want to kick off on that one.
Yeah, and I think I've probably said this a number of times before in various different circles, but I think the issue is not AI. The issue is why people are using it. And what I mean by that is they're using it to cut costs. They're not necessarily using it to improve experience. Now, no one will say that. No one will say that. It's all about the experience. The reality is, if you look at just about every metric, and I know you look at a lot of these, Contact Babel and other things, experience is going down. People's perception of experience is not going up. They think it's getting worse. Average time to answer is getting worse, right? We're supposed to be deploying AI so that we're 24/7 available, and you're never without somebody to support you. That's not what we see. We see conversational journeys that are poor, that loop round, that create frustration in a lot of cases. And it's because I think we've tried to unsuccessfully replicate the journeys without taking into account the vast majority of the nuance associated with the micro intents. So it's great, moving home, yes, should be a really easy one. But what happens if you're moving home to another state? Okay, what happens if you're moving house and you're leaving the US and going abroad? Like, these are slightly different subtleties of the same intent. And I just don't feel that many organizations have got and created the journeys for the micro intents that sit under a big intent. And so, you do get frustrated when something can't help you. Or I had this thing the other day, it kept telling me it was open, giving me a telephone number. The telephone number would then say it was closed. I'm like, but your AI is telling me something. Your reality is something different. I mean, that's why testing, quality assurance, on scale, en masse is absolutely required, because we are missing things out. Our consumers are telling us by how they're scoring things. And yes, it's great for something to be available 24/7, but not if it doesn't help.
Yeah, and I think that's a really great example of the micro intents, especially, and it reminds me of that famous lawsuit that everybody quotes around Air Canada of their bot telling a customer something, and then them getting sued because it wasn't their actual practice, because it missed sort of a micro intent, a specific importance that meant that knowledge article wasn't really relevant that it was drawing from. So I think, that's a great example. I don't know, Christoph, again, if there was anything you would add to that.
I would love to pick up the word frustration from Wayne. It's very interesting that customers don't forgive AI the way they forgive human agents. That's from a psychological perspective pretty interesting. It's maybe due to the fact that everyone can play around with ChatGPT and this works pretty smooth, easily, and then you talk to an AI agent of a company and say, I want to buy a new iPhone, and you get back, sorry, I don't understand. Well, then it's like, on one side, everyone sees how good technology is. On the other side, can be frustrating. But yeah, in general, super important topic. As an engineer, always tough to discuss with me because I'm, of course, excited by technology. And, there's typically this question, who would prefer to talk to an AI versus a human agent? If you ask it that way, my answer is usually, Well, I have seen systems where you cannot identify this is now AI. And so the question is maybe who will be able to realize in future this is now AI or this is a human agent. In general, there are obviously domains where you always want to speak to a human agent. This is I call this critical lifetime situations. This is I don't know. Imagine you have a car accident. All modern cars have this SOS functionality. And when airbags open or something, and you flip over the car, it calls a help center. This is probably not the moment when you're insured or your family or whatever, where you want to talk to a machine. So this is potentially a domain where it keeps always being human. But one term that wasn't mentioned yet is trust. So it's from my point of view, trust is really the main currency in these AI-driven customer engagements. And customers, they are not so much running for super fast answers. They want content to be accurate. It should be secure, and it should be consistent, and it shouldn't feel unethical or biased, for example. This is the moment where trust is gone instantly, and that is why it is so important to build this trust and to make sure that you're deploying an AI that is responsible and feels confident. In general, the whole thing is, I think, bigger than the topic we are discussing today. It's AI has a huge impact on our society. When I hear there's a school across the street of my office, when I hear the kids, the teenagers talking that, in my days back at university or high school, we were Googling for information. They are searching for everything on ChatGPT or Gemini or Copilot. And it's technology provided by Microsoft, by Google, by OpenAI, some of the most successful players out there. So what I'm trying to say is these kids take everything for gospel that ChatGPT will tell them. And therefore, stuff like accuracy and ethics and all these things are super important. Otherwise, we will see this in 10, 15 years. What it does to our society. At least from my point of view, just to add, it's not only about the kids and teenagers, it's the same with everyone else. It's also me. First of all, I trust what I get from AI. Being said, that's a dangerous thing, and that's why we have built a whole suite of products that is called AI Trust, dealing exactly with these challenges, making sure things are accurate. And this is, also a reason why a lot of our clients are getting stuck in a lab phase or POC phase with the AI projects, because there is some leader who asks the CX lead, are we sure that we are not the next Gemini? Or back in the days, it was called Google's BART introduction. Remember, one hallucination, Alphabet shares go 7% down. It's just one hallucination, but cost Alphabet $100 billion. So, and as a CX lead, what can you answer there? Yes, I'm pretty sure. So there's only, at the end of the day, testing, quality assurance to make sure these things are in place. And it's at the end of the day, it's less about dollars. When I mentioned before, healthcare providers, if you ask an AI today about medication or something, if answers are not accurate enough, this could pretty soon lead to deaths. My personal view is, unfortunately, we won't be able to avoid this as society, meaning people dying after some wrong advice from AI. But to give you an idea of what I'm thinking about, it's if you ask AI how many pills of aspirin can I take, and I get back the answer 5, then it's in general okay, but it's missing this context or the questions being asked. Are you a grown-up, and are you not taking any other stuff, and don't you do alcohol in addition or whatever? So for a kid asking there how many can I take and simply getting the answer 5, this is simply way too inaccurate. And the story goes on with misuse of AI. There's so much potential of abusing it, and for our clients, misuse is not how to build a bomb or something. The big language models out there all have guardrails for that. But it's you are Chevrolet, and someone asks you or your AI assistant, should I buy a Chevy Tahoe or BMW X5 or Mercedes M-Class? And Chevy's own AI assistant suggests, OMG, don't buy the Chevy. Go for the BMW. It's the way much better car for the money. And if you can afford, go for the Merc. This, AI has the data in the background to come back with that. For us, it's funny. For Chevrolet, it was a nightmare, of course. So this is what misuse can also be. This AI trust suite that we have also includes compliance, and that's a box of Pandora. I'm sitting in the heart of Europe, and we have, for example, this European AI Act. So this is 1,000 pages of pure technical descriptions, how AI has to act and what you need to provide. I think we have a handful of people in Europe who understand this 1,000 pages. So how should the enterprises building AI assistants have someone to guide them through this? And talking about that, we see in every state in America, it's only AI Act coming up. One in for California and one for Texas. So that's all huge, and we don't need to talk about bias. Just Google for 10 great leaders of 2025 or 4. It's 10 white men that you get back, probably located in Northern America. And this is the data all these models are trained on. So huge challenges arising. But I think I went a bit, I drifted a bit away like AI models do from your initial question.
Yeah, no, that's great. But if I go back to your point around that you have consumers using AI models now, like ChatGPT and Google, and they've sort of come accustomed to trusting that information. And so if they interact with a similar model that a business has, they will just trust that information. It's like as they would off another source, and that could potentially lead to significant problems. I thought that was an interesting point, and it also really highlights the importance of making sure your outputs are closely tested. And I don't know if you can maybe talk a little bit about, Christoph, as this is your bread and butter, like what contact centers can do to make sure that their AI outputs are safe and secure.
Yeah, it's testing and assurance is simply becoming a must-have. And these days are gone where you could deploy something and use your clients as testers. As said before, trust is then immediately lost and will be super hard to get them back. I think I also mentioned before, a lot of our clients in this transition get stuck in a POC phase because they simply can't answer these questions like, can we go live? Who makes this go live decision? Because this traditional KPIs like test coverage, this is what testing always was about, reaching a certain point of coverage and then we can go live. Well, how do you reach sufficient test coverage for ChatGPT or Gemini? Or they can talk about everything, also outside of your business domain. And the even bigger challenge is if you ask them 10 times the same thing, something rather easy. Who is the president of the United States? It will tell you 10 times it's Donald Trump, but it will be 10 times a different journey, meaning different phrasing going through some different steps. And testing is defined as comparing an expected result with an actual one. And the expected one, what is it? You don't know how AI acts. This is this non-deterministic, unpredictable behavior. And that's the second big challenge next to this whole trust part. With automation, of course, we can run, millions of tests on an API layer against something like ChatGPT, probably in a few minutes. But what is our expectation if we don't know what we get? And this simply led us to, and that's obviously the only way of covering it, to introduce also AI agents on our side to test the AI on the contact center side, because our AI agents, and we call this agentic AI testing, they can dynamically adapt in such a customer journey, to literally everything that is coming back or responded on the other side in the contact center. And at the end of the day, they are pursuing a goal. So, instead of, in the past for some electronic shop or whatever, we would have defined step by step, I want to buy a new iPhone, and you put all the stuff there, and at some point we would have gone to, and I want to trade in my old one. This would have been a test case with 50 steps, and all the time you run it, exactly the same behavior. Now with this new world, this AI era, our users simply define, I want to trade in my iPhone, my old iPhone, and get a new iPhone 17. That's it. And our AI agent would dynamically pursue this goal. And, super interesting with this new era is also, we are completely going away from, did we reach the goal or not? So, in the past, testing was always binary, red or green, passed or not passed. This is not working out anymore. In the meanwhile, we are going to provide CX scores to our clients, telling them, well, the goal was reached, but you know what? It was not a smooth customer journey because, maybe the tone was not good, the sentiment was not good, it took too long, whatever. There's so much stuff that we are providing in the meanwhile. And, at the end of the day, I think this is what separates successful production systems from those that never make it out of this lab or POCs. And when talking to prospects, I'm usually saying something like test now and thank yourself later. Is to put one sales phrase there. But this is really what it is. There's no way around it.
Yeah, absolutely. Making mistakes where nobody sees them, I guess. I don't know if there's anything that you would add to that at all, Wayne.
Excellent. Only that the detailed explanation that Christoph has given over the last two answers kind of just highlights why specialized tools are needed in order to ensure that the experiences we are creating, especially in the world of generative AI, are ones that we trust as the brand and the ones that the consumers trust as the person receiving the answer. And it just highlights the complexity that the complex testing nature that somebody has to go through to use the latest AI. And I'm just thankful that people like Christoph are in the background creating tools that are going to support us.
Yeah, absolutely. And it makes me think too, like if I go back to the kind of first parts of our conversation when we talked about just how many AI use cases there are now. And like we've spoken a lot about the customer facing AI use cases, but also you have AI giving agents not information that is incorrect. That's a big danger. And seems like there's many more dangers beyond just that customer facing AI. I don't know, Christoph, maybe I'll come back to you first on this. How more of a complete customer experience assurance strategy can help contact centers overcome some of those potential issues.
Yeah, so the one you're touch basing on is actually a super complex one, or so to say, without having this strategy, you're completely lost. And I was by accident today speaking with a customer that wants to exactly test this agent assist assurance. And when you look at the components being involved into their system, you realize quickly that, without a proper testing and automation strategy, you won't be able to cover this. There's, an agent assist technology coming from Google Agent Assist. There is a contact center like, I think it was Genesis. Then there is the agent assist tool, meaning that the agents are using to pick up the phone and get assistance, which is Salesforce. In addition, the client was telling me, oh, and by the way, in the upcoming months, I want to change to a new contact center and maybe a different agent assist technology and all of that. And of course, there's around all of that, when you look at the architecture, some carriers that are involved and some orchestration layers to bring in more data from some knowledge bases. And then the client is like, I want to automate this, and Cyara, please schedule calls for us that go through this entire pipeline, simulate the human agents picking up the phone, And to get there, of course, the IVR, first of all, you need to get into the right routing, by saying I want to talk to a human agent, so getting out of the self-service paths. And when you actually talk then to the real agent, you need to trigger the right intent so that the agent assist responses are generated. And then we need to do assurance there. And as we had it before, there is this huge complexity of, let's say it's a bank, and I want to lock my credit card. Let's say this is the intent. Then as an LLM is generating the agent assist content, with every call we do, it will be slightly different. So there you have also this challenge of unpredictable behavior. Plus, in addition, what are all the potential intents that a banking customer could ask an agent for? So meaning what should trigger agent assist? So also that is something that our AI agents would do. And, with all this complexity of this ecosystem, the client is saying, and you know what? On bad days, we have 10,000 clients calling us in the same second. So do this on scale with 10,000 calls, all these AIs involved, making sure that every call that is triggered gets routed to the right virtual agent that we are simulating and so on. So there is a huge complexity to your point. And that's something that no one can do manually anymore. This is a topic for automation.
Excellent. That was great, Christoph. I see you're nodding your head there, Wayne. Is there anything that you would maybe emphasize there?
No, just to re-emphasize the fact that the testing is now almost impossible to do manually in a lot of the areas that we need to do. And the reason is you can no longer just test something once. Actually, this is where it gets really bad. Every way that you say an intent could potentially trigger a different answer, same answer, but worded differently. So not only now do you have to test the intent and the response, you have to test every utterance of every intent and its response. Testing just got 20 times harder.
Yeah, that's a great point. I'd never actually considered that. But that's a great point, and a great little CTA to click on the Cyara.com website that I've added to the description for anyone to learn more about the testing process. But Wayne and Christoph, it's been a great conversation. I think maybe that's the best place to end our chat today. But thanks both very much for joining me, and also thanks to everybody for watching. Bye for now.